Hello, everybody. It is your Uncle Fish back again for School of Fish Art Stream. J-Man wants a Gatling gun on the end of his tail. Oh my goodness. J-Man says the tail's where you put all the heavy artillery. Yeah. He said he used to have a howitzer on the end of his tail. Hello, everybody. It is your ever-loving Uncle Fish back again for a brand new episode of School of Fish, Tuesdays and Thursdays on all these streaming places at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Tuesday version is free for everybody in the public. The Thursday version is available for patrons only, which is available for only $3 a month to support your Uncle Fishy and get awesome content and to get to take part in the awesome comics that are going to come out from Mr. Fish Comics, because as the lovely Sarah can testify to, we talk about stuff on this show while I'm working on pages and it ends up in the book. Like, let's see, where is it? Yeah. Mr. Creepykins here picking bugs out of his hair and eating them totally happened on the show while we were talking about, cool stuff that happens in the background of books that fills out the world. So you could have a part in something awesome that comes out in the next issue of KAAW, the next issue of Green Zone. So it's worth checking out for as little as $3. That's not much to support your Uncle Fishy. For $5, you can get all the digital copies of everything that Mr. Fish Comics puts out, which is going to be a lot of books. And for $15, you can get actual real life printed copies of KAAW the Cro-Magnon and Green Zone sent to your house month after month. That's a heck of a deal. Surpass the whole Kickstarter rigmarole. Like, I'm still waiting on Kickstarter to pay for the KAAW Kickstarter so that I can order the books. When we move over to Patreon, they're just going to come to you. We don't got to worry about none of that nonsense. So, something to think about, for the Sarahs of the world that are holding out. Good morning, Sarah. Glad you're here. Hope you're having a wonderful day. I have been having a tough one. Up until the last few minutes, I wasn't even 100% sure I was going to be able to do it today because, I was hurting bad today. But that's the life of chronic illness and Tourette syndrome and whatnot. Yes, it makes my brain run fast. It makes me very quick and very creative. But also makes everything hurt all the time. Good morning, Katie. Halfway around the world. Good to see you this evening, afternoon, whatever it is for you over there. Glad you're here. Glad you could find time in your busy schedule of saving the world and painting photorealistic portraits to hang out again. I really appreciate you hanging out. Thank you very much. My wife got it for me. Mr. laughs at his own jokes. She's got a lot of dad joke shirts for me. Sorry to hear that, but glad you're here today. Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate it. It's 4 p.m. there, so it is afternoon. All right. There we go. Today, we're working on something a little bit different, a little bit unique. Because like I said, talking about the Patreon backers, I am, because of all the rigmarole of getting the Kickstarter done, I got a hair behind on getting the rewards out to my Patreon backers. And so this proof copy of KAAW is going out to one of my Patreon backers that backed at the physical level for $15 a month. And because it's a proof copy, the inside back cover is blank because this is where I put all the thank yous for everybody that backed on Kickstarter and everybody that backed on Patreon's up at the top and, have their credits first. And since it's blank, and I already drew on the sketch cover, which is going out to somebody else that won a prize on another show, I am doing a sketch on the inside for Dana right here of her and Moana from the Moana Nui podcast together as badass warrior women. So we're going to be drawing that on the inside of this today during the show. Gee, give me my wine glass. Good morning, Robert. I drove over 400 miles this weekend. I'm very tired. Can't miss out on School of Fish, though. I'm so glad you're here. Sarah, how is your cat doing with the seizures and all? That had to be scary. I'm sorry about that. Hope the cat's doing well. This is the time for all of us to catch up. I think chronic illness might be a prerequisite. That's actually the reason I'm doing comics. If it wasn't for the chronic illness, I would have either still had a job doing something else. I would still be working my original freelance career doing logos and stuff and be too far into that to want to change at this point. Um, if I hadn't gotten crippled for so long and then had to start over from scratch, I probably wouldn't have had the bravery to try comics again because, admittedly, comics doesn't pay that great. And I'm doing the kind of work right now that I should have been doing in my 20s to get to where I need to be so that I could take it a little easier now. But I'm glad to be here nonetheless. So I'm willing to put in the work. I'm willing to put in the long hours and the 7-day work weeks to get there. Just, sucks. But yeah, chronic illness does seem to be a big part of it. Now, because I'm doing a portrait, let's see. Thank you for asking. He's okay now. He acted very weird for like 10 hours. Oh, I bet Caesar's going to have a long lasting effect. Then went to sleep on his pillow with us and seems totally normal today. Good deal. Hopefully it's a one-off or a very rare thing to have to deal with. Since I'm doing portraits of these lovely ladies and I can't just kind of half-ass it and make them look like badass dudes like I'm used to, I want to make sure I get their likenesses good. So what I did was I took some photos and stuff that Dana had sent me and went ahead and worked up a sketch in Clip Studio of them to make sure that I had the likenesses down right and like roughed out what else I was going to do on the page. But how do I get that from here to here is the question. Well, I'm going to be attempting, I haven't ever done it with something that's printed on the back like this, but I'm going to be attempting to use my screen as the light box again, which I've done before on white paper, but this is a little bit different doing it here on this. And thank you, Katie. I appreciate that. And that's why I really want this to look right. So I'm taking the extra step of trying to get their faces right and then light box it in. And I really just need to get like the basics of where stuff is, like the basics of where the eyes are and the nose and the mouth and like how far over it comes and how far down it comes and the corners of the jaw and stuff like that, and then just some main points to block out the other stuff, and then I can just look at the drawing and copy it. But I want to make sure that their faces are good because that's the key point. And you don't have as much leeway drawing women to make mistakes and stuff. If you're doing guys, you've got more leeway to mess up and, oh, he's just got a bigger, stronger jaw, or, he looks a little more weathered or something, and, oh, that's fine. That's fine and dandy. That just makes him look more badass. But an extra line on a lady's face can add 10 to 20 years onto her age, and that is not what you want most of the time. And with the loveliness of the female form, usually less is more, I find. So trying to get it right, and this might be kind of hard for y'all to see. It's kind of hard for me to see through all the noise of the background, but because this is printed on the other side, but hopefully and once I get it laid out, I'm going to redraw it. I just want to get the basics of everything marked out first. And I know once I move this, I'm not going to get it to line up again right. So I got to try and get everything in one go if I can. I'll turn this light on for a second so I can see what I actually drew. And see, okay, I can see some things I'm missing points on. Because with that light off, I can't really see what I've got drawn. Okay, I needed the grass skirt shoulder stuff. And luckily, she had a really cool, I don't know if it was AI or if somebody drew it, a really cool picture of Moana as a warrior princess anyway, which gave me the inspiration for the look. And then I went online and looked at like traditional Hawaiian warriors and then like fantasy female warriors and put all this stuff together to try and come up with one cool look. Okay, let's take one more look with the light before we... Okay, I don't have Dana's mouth. Let's see. I think that is right there. It's kind of hard. I'm telling you, man, it is. Tough trying to see through all that background noise. All right, we're gonna be pretty much stuck with what we got now. All right, that gives me plenty to work with. Plenty. All right, now I can move. Whoops! Give me just a second, because I have far too much junk in my way here. And I realized I was going to use my fancy go through OBS system so that I had the better camera and it kind of cropped in and you didn't get all the extras. But then I realized I didn't have one set up with this extra camera yet. So let's see. Let's catch up on the messages here. If Lightbox didn't work, I would have suggested the grid method. Yeah, I thought about the grid method too, but this pencil doesn't erase absolutely the best. I like the lead holder and stuff, but it doesn't erase absolutely great every time. So I didn't want to end up leaving a bunch of grid everywhere. Good morning, Phil. Glad you're back with us, man. Glad to have you. The new mic that I have, well, I'm glad you asked, Sarah. I ended up going with the one my wife got me for Christmas. Yes, indeed. This is the mic that my wife got me for Christmas. You will notice it from the features of I didn't know how to get it to work right, and it didn't sound very good before. But how's it sounding now? Because I'm not going through OBS now. So how is it sounding now? Partly getting this stand that helps me keep it up and closer to me was helping. But when I was going through OBS, I could add all the extra features onto it to boost the sound, and I don't have that benefit now because I'm not going through there. Whoops, daisy. Sorry about that. I'm trying to get something to draw on that I can put under there so I don't end up getting that dent in the table. Sounds good. Good deal. Yeah, she got it for me for Christmas, and it was a nice looking mic, but I like the fact that it picks up very well close by and doesn't pick up everything off in the distance, but it wasn't quite good enough for what I needed without having more control over those things. I don't know if that necessarily made sense when I just said that. But I didn't have enough control over the gain and noise suppression and all that stuff that helped make it sound better once I got it going through OBS. I'm hoping it sounds fine now, but I'm learning and growing as I go. Always trying to improve and do better than I did last time. Y'all know the way it goes. Always wanting better myself and my product and how I do things and yada yada yada. One nice thing about going back through Restream is now y'all can hear the background music that you weren't hearing when I was going through OBS, and I didn't realize. I'm just sitting there bopping along to my music, and nobody else was hearing it but me. Which is all right, because I've always been dancing to my own beat anyway. So much of this I don't want to put too much effort into right now because I want to put the details in while I'm inking and capture that magic in the inks and not wasting all my effort in the pencils. What bothers me is that that's never going to lay straight. I don't have my little scratch piece of paper in here anymore. Because silly me took it somewhere else. Scratch on it there. Pretty soon I'm going to be moved into a new spot, and hopefully I'll have everything right where I need it and not have to be digging around for everything because I'm constantly moving things to different places. Hopefully we'll see how it goes. Have I give up on OBS then? Oh, no, absolutely not. I didn't have an OBS page set up to have this extra camera in it yet. I just need to set it up and do that and make a scene for that so I can click to that. I think I'm still going to end up having to use the music on here on Restream instead of the music that I could upload there, because I could upload better royalty-free music there that I've downloaded myself. But for some reason, it's not playing through. Just like the audio on my intro didn't come through for some reason. I don't know why. But I haven't figured that part out yet. But I can always play my intro here. And that works just fine. But no, I love OBS. I love the way it's been working. I had to come back here because I needed this extra camera for right now. Let's see. We ended up getting our better noise suppression with another app. I still have a space problem as the only place I can stream from has terrible acoustics. Yeah. I feel you on that. The lighting in here has been a real hard thing for me to deal with because the only other lights in the room to give me like light from the front are way across the room over there. I actually just bought some fill lights to try, because when I move, my desk is going to be inside a closet. So I've got to light myself from the other side. And so I bought a couple of fill lights to hopefully fix that problem. Yeah, fill lights. Absolutely. You know, they're shaped like fill. They've got the same color temperature as your average fill. No, it's FILL lights. But I can control the color temperature a little bit, and I can cycle through all kinds of RGB modes, which might come in handy at some point. I can't guarantee that they will, but and I'm looking forward to being able to put these colored lights like beside me on the walls so they're just hitting the background and not making bright glows behind me. I think just as a gift for being my very first Patreon backer at the physical level, I'm going to go ahead and finish off the digital sketch as well for Dana and color it and everything. So she'll have a nice high res image of it that she can share and do whatever she may want to with it. Seems like a nice little way to say thank you for believing in me and being supportive and yada yada. Because I'm super grateful for everybody that has backed me on Patreon. Even if it's just for the couple of bucks level, it means a lot. And gets me that big step closer to being able to do my own stuff full time and just put out Mr. Fish comics. And then the occasional other stuff that I really want to do with friends and whatnot. And not just have to take jobs because gotta pay the bills. Which even at that, I'm lucky. I get to pay my bills drawing comic books, which is amazing. That's wonderful. If my own stuff fails and nobody wants to come back for another issue of KAAW or Green Zone, I still go back to drawing other people's comic books all day for a living, and that is amazing. I'm super grateful for the position I'm in. But if I could have my dream, win the lottery kind of life, and get to do my own books all day, you better believe it. Sarah says, my setup is super professional. I've been messing with vector layers more since your live stream last week. Thanks for the tips. Absolutely, man. Those vector layers are amazing. And just the versatility you get with it. I cannot tell you how often I go back and use the change the thickness after I'm done because I'm like, man, it looks great, but it blends in too much together or something because I didn't get enough line variation or something. And and it felt like I was getting lots of line variation when I was zoomed up on it, but the stuff I drew zoomed up, those thick lines there look the same as the thin lines on the stuff I did when I was zoomed out, and well, it doesn't look as varied now as I thought it did. So I can go back in and change that, and that is wonderful. I can go back and thicken those lines that need it. Now let's start working on this. I don't even remember what this club's called. I used to know. I always loved them with the shark teeth coming out of them. It's always just badass. And, using what you got available around you to make awesome weapons like that's just so cool. I tell you, the one thing I miss about working traditionally is being able to just turn the page all the way around when you're working on it. I mean, I can rotate my page, which is great, but I just kind of miss whipping the page all over the place as I'm working. Sure been exciting to see everybody going to cons and having a big time and meeting awesome celebrities and selling out on books and stuff. I kind of wish I'd been at a con this weekend seeing everybody having fun, but man, I sure do enjoy getting to see everybody having such an awesome time and making sales, and so many people got to meet amazing celebrities this weekend that are in that rare handful of celebrities that I would like to meet. Like, I just never really have been one to care much about, like, oh, well, yeah, you were in that show I like, that's cool and all, but, like, I didn't care enough to want to go, pay $50 to wait in line to get a signature from you or something. Just not something I really cared about. But man, seeing like Tony and them get to meet Phil Lamar from all of the awesome shows that we love and all of the awesome voices that he's done over the years, from Justice League to Static Shock to freaking Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Samurai Jack, to being the UPS dude on Mad TV, which is one of the funny things. Like, most of the people on my list that I would actually want to meet are all actually from Mad TV. Like, so many of those people, except for like Bruce Campbell, that are on my like really would like to meet list, are all from Mad TV. At least a lot of them are, not all of them. I was doing a medieval reenactment at the weekend. Oh, that's awesome. Did you get to go to that castle that you were hoping to go to? Is that the one? She was telling me she was part of a group that gets to go to this really awesome castle that straight up looks like, it's out of some medieval fantasy novel or something. And had missed out every time they ended up going to that castle before. I should be a better friend and be able to remember that stuff if that was this weekend or not, but there's been a lot going on. Like my grandbaby's being here, my grandbaby's birthday, my wife's birthday yesterday. The castle was blocked off because they were doing renovations on it, so I only saw the garden, sadly. Man, I'm sorry. That stinks. You finally get there. That's blocked off. That'd be like me finally getting to go to Greece and see all those sculptures, and they're all under tarps for renovations. Alright, now let's find a way to get in here to Dana's face and Of course, my hand's covering up the light. See, that's going to make it too bright for everybody to see, probably. I got to be able to see what it's doing over here. Crazy old fishy. A lot of the castles are really old. Well, go figure. I guess they have to do maintenance sometimes to stop them falling down even more, but that one has a drawbridge, and I wanted to see it. Man. I'm sorry you didn't get to see it up close. Man, I tell you what, Dana really does up the cosplay at shows. We were at Urban NerdCon with her last year, and we had a great time hanging out and everything. But man, between the cosplays and the costumes and the wigs and the contacts and the makeup, and man, she goes all out, like top notch. I'd be sitting there working the table and then just have some complete stranger sit down next to me and start talking to me. Kind of freaked me out for a second. And then my wife would be like, "That's Dana." And I was like, "Oh man, I had no idea." Because, I mean, just changes everything about her with the makeup and the hair and the contacts, and I'd have no idea it was her. Okay, wait a second. Let's get away from here. Let me go to the chats here. Hurting my brain just to what you do is. Here in the background. I'm way behind here. My lighting people just adjust my light as I move around the house. It's great. Must be hard if you're face blind. Yeah. I mean, I'm getting better. Like, I'm getting better at making connections and being able to pick people out. Because for a long time, I couldn't at all after my heat stroke. But then when she changes everything about her, yeah, she's an absolutely new person to me. And I'd be like, the voice sounds familiar. And so I'm trying to think through all the people with silver hair and silver eyes that I know, which isn't any. And then my wife's like, "That's Dana." I'm like, "Oh, lighting people, not lightning people." Stupid autocorrect. I guess I've been posting about Zob too much. I bet that's nice. Always the best light for selfies and arting. No such thing as too much Zob post. Zob. Why did I say Zob? See, that's tough. That's tough, but you knew it was tough when you did a name from another language. It's going to be tough. I apologize for saying Zob. I know it's Zob, but I thought it was Zob for a long time in my head before I found out what it really was. And so sometimes that still slips out. I apologize. But I make things hard on myself sometimes too. Like making green zone one word I did not realize was going to be such an issue. Or spelling KAAW with a K and two A's. That's just the way it looked to me in my head when I first thought of the name, and so that's the way I did it. I didn't realize it was going to cause so much issue for people that were looking for a book titled KAAW. Glad to know I'm not the only one. The 1% of the 1% can make a mistake. Maybe it's okay for me to make one too every year or two. I should be talking, but this brush pen takes a lot of my attention. It don't take much to mess up with the brush pen. It's one thing I miss about working traditionally is the brush and ink. Man, I used to have such a steady hand before the Tourette's got so bad. I mean, I had Tourette's. I just didn't know I had Tourette's back then. And man, I remember being so proud of myself one time when had I had committed long before that to just doing everything with a brush because 100% because Todd McFarlane said in a video that the brush was too hard and time consuming to master. There was no point. Just, use a pen. And I was like, oh, I'm going to show him. I'm going to do it out of spite. And I fell in love with the brush. And I fell in love with it. And I fell in love with the character and the fluidity and the limitations of it and stuff. And then in one book, I stuck Venetian blinds in the background, and I was like, man, you're never going to pull this off. And all these just laser straight Venetian blind lines that I painted with a ruler and a brush. I was so proud of myself. And I kind of need to stick another hand over here, but the whole thing's wet, so I can't really go on top of that right now. But anyway, I was so proud of what I could do with a brush. Like, I remember there have been times at the sign shop that I painted like 16 foot, 18 foot long pinstripe lines, perfectly laser straight, no problem. And then after a while, it got to where I couldn't even get a brush in a bottle of ink without dumping the ink because my hand was so shaky, much less be able to do anything recognizable with it. And I had to reteach myself how to ink all over again with pens and microns and markers and stuff that I couldn't mess up with as easily, and had to completely reteach myself how to ink. And then my hand got too shaky for that. And I finally got a computer that could help smooth out my shaky lines, and had to reteach myself how to ink all over again, which was tough. And now, like, my hand's steadier and stuff now, that right medications, treatments, blah, blah, blah. So I'm back to being able to do it again, but now I gotta, like, work out all those bugs and kinks and get back into the swing of it. That's about as far as I can go right now on it without messing up what I've already done. I need to make sure I let this dry good before I come over in here and put our other hand in, because I didn't think that through. I wasn't planning on going down below the club. I know the name, I just can't think of it. I wasn't planning on going down below that, but I did because I had room. And so now I need to let that dry good before I go any further. Well, what do y'all think? Sarah says it looks awesome. I think it came out pretty good for a quick sketch, and it looks like them, and hopefully that'll be a fun little bonus for Dana. Got room at the top for a personalized thank you message for believing in me and supporting the book. And now I just have to find someplace safe to set that to dry for a minute before I go on to anything else. And I'm thinking, in the time we have left, thank you, man. I appreciate. I'm having a stroke. I appreciate that. Oh man, bumped my connection. That's the problem with having so many wires around here. And that's literally just the wires being intertangled in each other. They're not pulling anything loose. All the connections are strong. Just all the wires are kind of tangled together over here in the corner, and me moving this around mess that up. Yeah, I'm fine. It's just my Tourette's makes me slur my words sometimes and it sounds like I'm having a stroke. Maybe that wasn't the best joke to make in the moment, but I apologize. I'm fine. Or at least I think I'm fine. I mean, would I know if I was actually having a stroke? You would think, but as bad as my health is anyway, like losing the use of one arm suddenly, slurring my speech, stumbling around, not being able to walk, all those are normal things for me. So it would not be a surprise if something were to happen and I didn't realize it right away. That's why my heat stroke was so bad, because my Tourette's makes me act so batty sometimes anyway that my ex didn't take it seriously. And so she didn't do anything about it when the Cub Scout leader sent me home and dumped me off at the house, unable to speak or walk or any of that stuff. I was deep in heat stroke symptoms, and let's see which that'll do it. And she didn't care. She didn't take it seriously, and so she just stuck me at the house. And by the time she realized it was a problem, by then she wouldn't take me to the hospital, because then she didn't want to have to answer the questions of why didn't you bring him to the hospital sooner, and she didn't want to get in trouble for any of that because she was a nurse. And so better to just let me suffer in silence. And yeah, she was a peach. Wonderful person. Benefit to the species. Sometimes I wanted to too. I tell you. It's the truth. See? Not the loveliest person in the world. But what are you going to do? I was young and stupid. And honestly, thought I was making a really good choice when I married her. Thought I was making a very smart choice. But it turns out you can try and make as smart a choice as you want. If the person that you're dealing with is lying about who they are, you don't really have the information to make a good choice. You think you're making a smart choice, but when they're not that person that they've been pretending to be for 2 years, there's no way to make a good choice. And I didn't even get a hint of it until right before the wedding. That last, like, 2 months before the wedding, I started to see, she started to become just this horrible person. And I thought, surely this is just the bridezilla thing that they talk about. And, this can't be who she really is. Nobody could hide for 2 years who they really are every day with somebody. Like, this has to just be the stress of the wedding coming out. Nope. That was absolutely who she was. The stress of the wedding brought out the person that she really was. And I saw it and I didn't believe it. And went ahead and married her anyway, because surely she can't be that person. No, that's who she was. And then once I married her, I couldn't bring myself to leave because of my OCD and my autism and stuff. I made a promise. I swore I was going to be here forever. And it doesn't matter if I made a bad promise or if I got ripped off or if she lied about who she was. This is what I promised in front of God and my family and all my friends. And I'm not a liar and I don't break my word. And I didn't make this promise lightly or easily. And so in my head, I was like, nope, that's sucks, but that's what I did. So this is where I am. And I was committed to making the best out of it that I could. And the really messed up thing about being in a terrible relationship like that and being in an abusive relationship is you will hold on to bits of goodness that you had and keep trying to get back to there and use that as an excuse for, well, but yeah, but ideally, usually we're happy. No, we were happy for like 2 separate years in our 23-year marriage. 2 individual separate years. We were happy for those years, that year and that year, because she got everything that she wanted and everything was working out her way, and there was nothing to make her unhappy, like, kids being kids and not wanting to listen, or being broke because she blew all the money, or you know she could do what she wanted to do, and she could, you know and she was happy, so we were happy. But 2 years out of 23 is not enough to say, yeah, that's. I kept trying to convince myself that those 2 happy years that we had were the normal, and the other 21 years were the aberration. And if we could just get back to XYZ, then we will be as happy as we were those 2 years. And that's not right. That's not healthy. That's not how any of this works. But it's one of the lies that we tell ourselves when we're stuck in something like this and don't think we have a way out. And they're like, well, but this is good, yeah, he hit me, but he also said he was sorry and that he wasn't going to do it again, and just like he did the time before and the time before. And you focus on how sweet he was when he was wooing you, and not who he is every day when he comes home from work drunk. And I would focus on the tiniest little things to try and make her the hero in my story, to convince myself and everyone else that she wasn't what I was seeing every day. And that just doesn't, that's not right, but that's what we do to try and make it seem okay in our own heads that this is going on like this. And like, I would make her out in my stories to be such the hero because she didn't leave when we found out I had Tourette's and I had an incurable neurological condition that was never going to go away. And she stood by my side and she helped me and blah, blah, blah. Which wasn't, even that wasn't 100% accurate. She didn't stay. She didn't leave. And that's two very, very different things. She didn't leave because she didn't want to be seen as the person that left as soon as her husband got sick and just ran off because it was too hard. She didn't want to take that blow to her ego, so she didn't leave. That's not the same thing as choosing to stay. And she made me suffer for making her life more difficult, and it was bad. But now life is good. And even in the bad, I could still find good in life, and I still stayed happy and had my joy, and just, refused to dwell on the negative stuff, and which would make her even more mad because she would want me to be miserable, and I wouldn't be. She was a peach. Big, stinky, rotten, swollen peach. But the thing is, even as bad as it was, sometimes you just don't want to let yourself see how badly someone treats you to start with. Yeah. And it's amazing the mental gymnastics you can put yourself through to try and justify what they're doing to you. Absolutely. She had me so convinced that everything was my fault, and I was a burden to the family, and I had ruined everybody's lives, and the kids were miserable because of me, and it was bad. It was really bad. And, she had me convinced that I was such a burden and such a problem to the world, and that I had made everybody's lives miserable. And, she was so happy before me, and I ruined her life. And it's all my fault, and it's only a matter of time before the kids are going to hate me just as much, because once she left, now I was just going to be a burden on the kids. And eventually they were going to hate me just as much as she did. And I should do the world a favor and just kill myself. So when she announced that she was leaving, I tried, just being straight with you, because it's something that we put way too much shame on and way too much embarrassment on, and make it something shameful to talk about, that, oh my God, you're so messed up that you tried this. And like, I haven't wanted to talk about it just because I'm afraid of what it would do to my business. I'm afraid of what it would do to my professional reputation, and the jobs that it might cost me. And how am I going to afford to take care of myself if people don't want to hire me because they think I'm crazy? And the thing is, I realize now that, it wasn't even just me. It was the abuse that I was under. It was the abuse that she put me through, the toxicity of our marriage. And as much as I hate to admit it, after she left, her next boyfriend that she had, surprisingly, ended up doing the same thing, except he was successful and did it in exactly the same way, with all the exact same things that I did, which really has me racking my brain wondering how much of that was even me and how much of that was totally set up by her. And it was bad. And I feel very horrible for him that he didn't make it through her abuse the way I did. But I just lost another friend to suicide recently that had a huge impact on me and my family. And I know the exact reasons that he didn't say anything or reach out for help because of the shame and stigma that was going to get stuck on him as soon as he admitted that he had this problem and that he was struggling with these thoughts, and he didn't want to get labeled as that guy. And instead of risking it, risking that shame that comes with it, that we stick on it, now he's not here anymore. It's one of those things that's so much harder for naturally positive people to talk about. Yeah. I think getting that low in an abusive situation is more common than people realize, but it's so taboo to talk about it. Absolutely. And it's been years now, and I really haven't talked about it, except to just a handful of people that I know personally in real life. And I know I'm not responsible for what my friend did. And I know, it's not my fault, and blah, blah, blah. But you can't help but wonder, could it have made a difference at all if I had been more open about it? Now, because he was a close family friend, he knew about it. But we never talked about it. And it's the stigma that we put on it that keeps so many people and so many men falling to this bastard of a disease because we don't talk about it. What's up, Jay, man? Jumping in on a terribly heavy day. My nephew died by suicide, and I think about stuff like that all the time. In my experience here is very little you can do once someone has made up their mind to do that. It's not. Oh no, it's not my fault. I think all of us in society bear a little bit of responsibility for making it a subject that we can't talk about. And I absolutely was a part of that by not talking about my own struggle. And having to sit at the funeral for a friend really made me think about that. And decide, well, it's not going to be the only thing I talk about because I don't want to become that guy that's known for just that. I kind of get tired of being known as a Tourette's guy, honestly, because there's a lot more to me than that. But I'm also going to not talk about it anymore because you got to be the change you want to see in the world, even when that change is really hard. And if being honest about the fact that I was once at the point of trying to kill myself could possibly be of any benefit at all to anybody else in the world, that's all I need. I've seen what a benefit talking about the difficulties of my Tourette's has been to other people with Tourette's. I've experienced the benefits of being honest and open about things and the impact that that can have on other people. So I'm just deciding that I'm going to do that on the absolute most painful subject in my life as well. And hopefully it'll have a positive effect somewhere. Hey, J Man. Oh, hey, J Man, Sarah says. Glad you're here, J Man. Glad you could stop in for a second. Boss Man with you, or is it just you this time? World needs fish. He brings light and more colors to the world with his art. Well, thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. And that's the thing. Depression, suicidal thoughts is a sinister bitch. It will try and get you to hide and stay alone and seclude yourself and keep you from the things that you absolutely need to have a better mental state. No, we need to stay inside and hide. We don't need to exercise. It's just going to make it worse. No, we don't need to get out of our bed. That's just going to make us sadder. We need to stay here in bed. We need to stay locked away in our room so nobody can hurt us. Oh no, we don't have any friends. Why don't we have any friends? Because we stay locked away in a room all the time. That's why. It's such a self propagating, lying disease that just wants to keep you hidden away so that you can't do the things, get the help, be honest with people, do those things that are going to make you feel better, engage with friends, get out and exercise and get out and do things. No, we don't need to do any of that. We need to stay hidden away, and we can't talk about it because that'll just make it worse, and everybody's going to hate us, and everybody's going to think we're terrible. And just stay secluded. My shrink described it as like hyperactive defense mechanisms. You know, you're trying to keep yourself from being hurt again by secluding yourself, but secluding yourself only ends up making you hurt more. And then, you know, that just multiplies the problem. So, well, since it hurts so bad, staying away from everybody and not having friends, I'm going to get all in my emotions about not having friends and hide even deeper. And it just, it's self-defense run amok in an unhealthy way. And I get it when she described it that way. Made sense to me. Yes, I am drawing Moana. Glad you could recognize that. I've had major battles with depression over the years. It's an awful place to be through, and I'm doing much better these days. I'm glad, Katie. I've struggled with, and you know, and like J-Man said, I'm a positive dude. You know, I'm the kind of guy that most people that know me would say, "Oh, he would never struggle." Absolutely struggle with that. Have almost all my life. And it's part of what makes me such a positive dude, too. It makes part of why I focus on the positive things so much, to try and not let myself get overwhelmed by the negative. And I actively count the positive things that are going on in my life and the friends that I have, and, you know, and like when depression wants to tell me, it's Moana and Dana, just to clarify. But yeah, it is Moana that I'm working on right now. Uh, like when depression wants to focus on like, oh man, all these people are messaging you and you're trying to work and you're gonna get behind and you're already behind and you're gonna let your client down and and everybody's messaging you and your wife's messaging you and you got da. And I'm like, you know what? I have a beautiful wife that loves me and wants to message me throughout the day and let me know what's going on in her life. I've got amazing friends that love me and are excited to tell me about what's going on in their lives and tell me about cool DVDs that they found and whatnot when they were out hunting, and that's an amazing thing to have, and focus on the positive of it and not let depression and anxiety get the better hold of me and like, oh, but you should be focused on working 24/7. Well, I'm focused on working 24/7 as it is, and I can take a few minutes here and there and talk to some friends for a few minutes and see what's going on in their lives and check in on them and share what's going on in mine and be a part of a community, because I know staying a part of that community is going to be good for my mental health overall. I might not always be able to message back as soon as I want because I'm also always working. Man, I have talked so often in daily life, talking with friends and stuff, about how they work manga illustrators to the bone, like slaves, with the crazy hours that they have to keep. And then somebody shared a schedule for a manga illustrator and talked about how he had just had 3 hours to himself a week to do anything that he wanted to do, for fun or relaxation. And I remember looking at that schedule and seeing how they worked. And I remember thinking, dang, what would I do if I had 3 whole hours a week to just do what I wanted to do? I was like, man, that'd be a vacation. And then I realized, you know what? I need to work on changing the way I'm working. I can't get there just yet, but I'm hoping if I can make enough on my own comics to be focused on just doing that, and if I could get enough backers on Patreon that wanted to just get the comics sent straight to them and not have to run a Kickstarter, and I could get to the point to where I'm not working myself like that. I might could even get to the point to where I just work 10-hour days, 7 days a week. That'd be like a holiday right there. But yeah, that was kind of an embarrassing revelation when I realized these guys I've been complaining about how hard they work them work the same way I do. So something's wrong. Thank you, J-Man. I appreciate that. I hope she does. This is, I did, let me show you. I did it as a sketch inside the physical. This page is going to be the thank you page in the finished book, but this was a proof, so I didn't have the thank you list yet. So I did it as a sketch for Dana as one of my physical backers on my Patreon, so she's going to get that sent to her. And I was like, you know what? Since I went ahead and sketched it up in Clip Studio anyway, so I could get the look and the layout right, and then I used my screen here as a light box to transfer it into the book, because when you're doing a portrait of the ladies, you want it to look right. I can't I can't fill in mistakes with cross hatching or beard stubble or any of that stuff that you could do with a guy and make it just look more dramatic and more rugged. If you screw up on a lady, you screw up. You only get a few lines to make it look right. And so I got the look right first and then went in and light boxed it into there and came out cool. But I was like, since I've already got this halfway done, I could just go ahead and ink this and color it and give this to Dana too as a separate little special add-on that her and Moana can do whatever they want with, because why not? They're my friends and I appreciate Dana believing in me and supporting me on the Patreons. And so if I can do a little extra, why not do a whole lot extra? That's what Fishy says. If it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. That's my motto. I'm glad to jump in here for a few, but Uncle Sam's calling, so Fish and everyone have an awesome day. Amazing, dude. Have a great day, man. Glad you could stop in and hang out for a minute. It's good seeing you. Katie says, we did not evolve to do nothing but work. Community and self-care is important. Absolutely. It is. I agree with you. And, having lost as many friends as we've all lost in the indie comics world, I've been super aware of my health and my self-care and my lack thereof lately. And I don't want to be another statistic. I don't want to be another awesome creator that died before his time. If I can help it. I mean, let's face it, I've already done a lot of damage to this vessel in the time I've had it. But if there's anything I can do from here on out, I need to start taking better care of it. And so I've been trying to get back to getting my walks in and trying to eat better, but man, every time I feel like I've really made some grounds on eating better and stuff, we end up taking a trip and eating nothing but fast food, or like, there's been 2 birthdays recently, and so like I made this crazy good pineapple coconut cake for my wife, and it's delicious, and I had 2 pieces of that yesterday, so that undid any goodness I've been doing for myself lately right there. It doesn't matter if you've been just drinking the unsweet teas and the whatnot. If you eat a big old slab of sugar cake and whatnot, it's not how any of this works, she said in the commercial. Eating better is hard with ADHD. It gives us too much dopamine. Yeah. Absolutely. And like with the Tourette's and stuff also comes like the executive dysfunction and impulse control and all of these issues. And with OCD and stuff, the thing I have struggled with the most in my life when it comes to food is I will get this obsession over tasting something. Like I need to taste the Oreos. I can see that they're there, and I desperately need to taste it. And so I eat one and I've tasted it. Fine. That's satiated for a split second. I need to taste that. I just ate one. You tasted it. No, I forgot what it tastes like. I need to taste it again. And that incessant need to taste it. I'm not hungry. I don't want to eat another cookie. I might be sick of the cookies. I might have the chocolate brown trots because of all the cookies. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. I need to taste that. And that has been my biggest problem. And I couldn't understand it before. I couldn't understand, why can I not fight this need to be able to taste this thing? Why is that desire? Everybody else can have a cookie and stop. Why do I have to keep going because I have to obsessively taste it? And, lo and behold, I find out more about Tourette's and OCD and all this stuff. I'm like, oh, well, there you go. That's the problem right there. I'm not the only one that's got that problem. What do you know about that? I keep wanting to use my fingers to pinch and zoom, and I can't do that on this one. I gotta remind myself about that. Karen says he's never had the chocolate brown shots because he's got servants to have them for him. Says when he eats jalapenos, it's Jeeves' butthole that's burning, not his. I had to message Danny J. Quick the other day just to thank him for all the enjoyment I have gotten out of cracking jokes about how rich Kyron is. And it absolutely stems from the Four Tails podcast Saturday mornings on the Agents of Geekdom Network. And the jokes that Danny keeps making about how rich Kyron is. And I just had to message him the other day and thank him for all the enjoyment I've gotten about it. And Katie had just sent me pictures of the castle that she wanted to go to, and was showing me pictures, and the walls were falling down, and she cracked a joke about how Kyron's butler had obviously fallen down on the repairs on his house. And I cracked up laughing, and then I instantly messaged Danny, and I was like, I just got to thank you for all the enjoyment that I've gotten out of it, and the fans watching my show have gotten out of it. And I just had somebody crack a joke about it to me, and it brought me great joy. And I just had to thank you for all the enjoyment that you've given me by spurring off that conversation. I don't think Danny knew what to make of it, but it was funny nonetheless. My spice tolerance is a -5, Kyron says. Shaking my head. I'm not that rich. I only have 2 yachts. Real rich people have 3. Real rich people have their own navy, Kyron says. He just has a little old yacht club, not a whole navy. Kyron says, be careful what you're talking about. He don't want to get in trouble with the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. He's been trying to make it into that club for a while. He don't want me ruining it for him. They're talking a bunch of nonsense. Yeah, Kyron, your butler was slacking and let Slane's castle turn to a ruin. Absolutely, man. You got to stay up on this servants, man. You give them a leeway, you give them an inch, they take a mile. You got to... You're slacking, Kyron. You're never going to get to the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. If you don't keep an eye on these servants, make sure they're keeping your castles up, man. Castle's all in disrepair. If your castle's in disrepair, then you're never going to be able to keep a dragon there. And if you can't keep your own dragon, you're never going to make it into the ultra rich. Everybody's got to have a dragon. How do you think they protect their hoarded piles of gold? Have their own personal dragons. Do you have a smaller boat that stays in the garage inside your bigger boat? Oh my God. I'm not the only weirdo in the world. It's so good to find your tribe of weirdos. All right. I think that looks pretty cool. I just need to slap some awesome colors on it now for her and get that sent off to her. But we're already at the hour 32 mark, and I need to get off of here and get back to drawing the Sentinels because I got to get the Sentinels finished so I can wrap up the source book so I can get it out to backers. So I can get on to the next issue of KAAW so I can get it out to Patreon backers. So I can get the next issue of KAAW out to Patreon backers. So I can get the next issue of Green Zone out so that I can get to the next Kickstarter. Yeah, there's a few things to do. So your Uncle Fishy loves you. Thank you for hanging out. I appreciate y'all hanging out, laughing with me, having a good time, watching me work on these drawings, encouraging me and whatnot while I'm doing it. Because I got to admit, I was a little nerve-wracked to take the brush to these beautiful feminine faces and hope that I didn't mess it up. And I think I did okay. Let's see. We got to get some of these in here. Sorry, Katie, it's not me. I thought about buying it 3 years ago, but it wasn't the color I wanted. Yeah. And if they're not willing to rebuild it brick by brick in the color of stone you want, then what's the point, really? I have a boat I ride to get to the garage where my bigger boats are housed. And that garage is called Australia. Gary bought it a couple of years ago. Don't tell the Aussies, they'll get mad. All right. Thank you, guys. I'm going to find the graphics button so that I can hit my intro as my outro because I still haven't made an outro yet because there's too many things to do. Thank y'all for hanging out, and I will see most of y'all on Patreon on Thursday. And for the J-Men and the Sirs and the Who-Nots out there, I'll see y'all back here on Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on School of Fish. Love y'all, and peace out. Hello, everybody. It is your Uncle Fish back again for School of Fish art stream. J-Man wants a Gatling gun on the end of his tail. Oh my goodness. J-Man says the tail's where you put all the heavy artillery. Yeah. He said he used to have a howitzer on the end of his tail.